Welcome to Murder Tale Shorts, thrilling, chilling true crime at its bloody best. I'm H.M. Lloyd. On Wednesday the 8th of September 1965, 6-year-old Margaret Reynolds had lunch with her mother and sister at her home in Clifton Road in Ashton. At 1:15, she left home, intending to return to Prince Albert Primary School and finish her afternoon classes. Margaret never made it back to school. Over 150 police officers searched empty houses and local plots of land. The local lakes and ponds were dragged. Desperate appeals were made by Margaret's parents and the police on radio and television. Over 2,000 locals volunteered to comb Villa Park and the surrounding scrubland. House-to-house inquiries were carried out, local school children were interviewed, and over 200 posters were put up and passed around. Finally, a £100 reward was put up for anyone offering information that could help to find the missing child. On Thursday the 30th of December 1965, 5-year-old Diana Joy Tift had been visiting her grandmother in Chapel Street, Blakenhall, Walsall. She left her grandmother's at 1:30pm and never returned home. Once again, the police entered into the same old merry-go-round of house-to-house inquiries and searches. They all proved fruitless. On Wednesday the 12th of January 1966, a rambler enjoying the beauty of Cannock Chase Forest discovered the body of Diane Tift dumped in Manstey Gully. Police immediately carried out a search of the area, and they discovered Margaret Reynolds' body dumped nearby in the same ditch. Diana had been raped and strangled. Margaret's body was too badly decomposed to ascertain the circumstances of her death. On Saturday the 19th of August 1967, 7-year-old Christine Darby was taken. It was 2:30 in the afternoon, broad daylight. She had been playing with a group of friends near her home on Camden Street, Walsall. A grey Austin Cambridge had pulled up alongside the children, and the driver had asked for directions to Karma Green. The children pointed him in the right direction, but he asked Christine if she would get in the car and direct him personally. Christine agreed. She was never seen alive again. The police now knew they were looking for a local man, because although the place he was looking for was pronounced Karma Green, it was spelt Coldmore Green, and anyone who was not local would probably not know the correct pronunciation. 150 police officers were drafted into the investigation. They carried out over 39,000 house-to-house inquiries, which led on to the more detailed interviews of over 8,000 people, and the details of over 1 million cars were checked and verified. Finally, the police came up with an artist's impression of their chief suspect. On Sunday the 20th of August 1967, the first clue was discovered in Cannock Chase Forest. A mounted police officer found Christine's knickers. They had been hung from a tree branch. On Monday the 21st of August, a forestry worker discovered the next clue, one of Christine's shoes discarded in the bracken. On Tuesday the 22nd of August 1967, the last terrible discovery was made. One of the soldiers drafted in for the search of the forest discovered Christine Darby's body. She'd been left at the foot of a tree that had been planted by the Forestry Commission. Like the previous victims, she'd been left exposed to the elements for so long it was impossible to tell how she had exactly died. On Saturday the 4th of November 1968, 10-year-old Margaret Alton was stood on some waste ground building a bonfire with her brother. A green and cream Ford car drove onto the waste ground and pulled up alongside them. The driver of the car asked Margaret if she'd like to come and see some fireworks. When she refused, the driver got out of the car and tried to manhandle a terrified little girl into the vehicle. Luckily, a neighbour by the name of Mrs. Lane witnessed this and ran over to remonstrate with the potential kidnapper. The driver got back into the vehicle and drove off. Mrs. Lane made a note of the number plate. The owner of the car was 38-year-old Raymond Morris, a married father of 2. He was known to the police. In 1966, he'd been investigated for paying two underage girls 2 shillings to strip and let him take indecent photographs of them. When the girls went to the police didn't believe them and basically told them to go away and stop making up stories. Morris's own brother suspected Morris of being the murderer and had told the police they should investigate him. Raymond Morris had been interviewed no less than 4 times by the police in connection with the murders. However, each time he had been dismissed as a suspect because his wife Carol had given him a cast-iron alibi. Mrs. Lane was asked if she could pick out Raymond Morris in a police lineup. She was taken into the room where 5 men stood before her and she had to look each in the eye. She was desperately scared and she failed to pick Raymond Morris out. When she was taken out of the room, she told the police that she had instantly recognised Morris and she was able to tell them which number he had been in the lineup. During a search of Raymond Morris's house, indecent photographs of his niece being sexually abused were discovered in the bedroom. In one of the photographs, Morris's hand could be seen coming into shot. It was easily identifiable by a very distinctive watch. The photographs were shown to Carol Morris. She immediately slipped off her wedding ring and recanted the alibi she'd previously given to her husband. On Monday, the 12th of February 1969, Raymond Morris pled not guilty to the Cannock Chase murders. The jury didn't like him and didn't believe him. On Monday, the 18th of February 1969, they returned with a guilty verdict after a very short deliberation. Mr. Justice Ashworth sentenced Raymond Morris to life imprisonment with a recommendation that he served no less than 30 years. Raymond Morris died in prison in 2014. You can find out more about this haunting case in my book, Murder Tales the Child Killers. And don't forget to subscribe to the Murder Tales podcast. Until next time, don't have nightmares.